Here's another truth about liberals and Democrats that you can't live without. Democrats and liberals love to give stuff new names. If a Democrat shows you a picture of a giraffe, they're going to call it a horse. You and I both know that it's a giraffe, but they're still calling it a horse. Whenever someone calls themselves a Democrat, I would assume that it means they believe in democracy. But that's not the case, because if it was, whenever Donald Trump won the popular vote in the United States, Democrats would have been happy, right? If someone says they're a liberal, you might think, oh, they're a live and let live type person. But liberals believe that unless you agree with everything they say, you're a bad person. Remember, kids, you don't have to like what I say, but if you're honest, you can't argue with it. God bless America, and long live the Republic.
A lot to unpack there. First, you say liberals are going to always give something a different name. If they show you a giraffe, they're going to tell you it's a horse. The Gulf of America has entered the chat. Does that ring a bell? Gulf of America? The Department of War? Mount McKinley? Freedom Fries? Any of this ringing a bell? Nah, probably not. And then you talked about live and let live. That's what liberals do. It's literally quite opposite of what MAGA and far right-wing conservatives do. A liberal way of governing a society says, for example, I'm not gay, so I'm not going to marry somebody of the same sex. But it's not my place to tell you you can't. So you go ahead and get married to who you want. That's live and let live. A conservative way of governing that same society is, I'm not gay and I'm not going to marry somebody of the same sex, and therefore neither can you. A liberal way of governing society is saying, I wouldn't get an abortion. That's not for me. That's not a decision that I would want to make, but it's not my choice to tell you you can make that decision. So you go ahead and make that decision, or don't make that decision if it's what's best for you. That's live and let live. A conservative way of governing that same society would be to say, I don't believe in abortion. I'm not going to get an abortion. That's not a decision that I would be comfortable living with, and therefore you can't either. A liberal way of governing a society would be to say, I don't believe that these books send the right message. I don't want to read these books. But if you want to read them, that's entirely up to you. It's not my choice. That's live and let live. A conservative way of governing that same society is to say, I don't believe in these books. I'm not going to read these books, and so therefore, neither can any of you. If you want to live and let live society, you should vote in liberals. And oh, by the way, no, we shouldn't be happy that Donald Trump won the popular vote. We need to accept it. We need to understand that he did win the election. But that doesn't mean we have to be happy about it. Were you happy when Joe Biden won the popular vote? Were you happy when Barack Obama won the popular vote? Of course not. Don't tell us when we do and do not need to be happy.